Okay, so we're on to coronary heart disease today. All right, so it's linking in with obesity because we know that it is a risk factor. If you are obese, a chance of coronary heart disease increases. And what is coronary heart disease then? It occurs when the walls of the coronary arteries, which is around your heart, they narrow due to a buildup of cholesterol. So here's a normal artery here, normal blood flow. Artery is quite thick walled because of the pressure of blood going around the body. And here, this is somebody suffering from CHD. You can see this waxy yellow cholesterol substance building up, and it narrows the space within the artery that blood can flow. And that can lead to lots of different things that we look at here under this heading. Okay, so that's what coronary heart disease is where cholesterol builds up within. Okay, now obesity is a risk factor, but you could be as thin as anything and very healthy, and you can inherit the risk of coronary heart disease. Okay, so diet will definitely help. We'll have a look and see what we can do in our diets to prevent or reduce our risk. But sometimes cholesterol is inherited, and that's a different ball game, and you need to go and speak to a medical professional in that case and see what you can do. So let's go back here. Coronary heart disease occurs when the walls of the coronary arteries narrow due to that buildup of cholesterol. And this slowly blocks, so over time, the flow of oxygen-rich blood, because we know that that's what is carried in arteries, oxygen-rich blood, through the coronary arteries. They are the arteries around your heart, as I've said already, and it brings it to the heart. And you can underline this bit. So again, I'm going to try this. The blockage or hardening of the arteries is called, and this word comes up a lot. What is it? Atherosclerosis. Okay. I don't know if that's any good to you there, but you can do it in your own books as well. All right. So atherosclerosis is the key word. I've mangled it there, but you get me. There may be no symptoms of coronary heart disease in the early stages. You may not know you have it. But as the narrowing of the arteries continues, it may start to show itself physically in your body. Okay. So the first thing that might happen is angina. You might have heard of older people suffering from angina. And it occurs when cholesterol builds up, like we've just spoken about, and it again in turn restricts the blood supply due to a narrowing of the arteries. This in turn causes a lack of oxygen in the heart muscle because the oxygen-rich blood isn't getting through. And this leads to a shortness of breath and severe chest pain. So you think you're going to have, I know people with angina, you think you're going to have a heart attack and you get awful chest pains and you're unable to breathe. And sometimes stress, it says here, emotional stress can trigger. So if you are in a stressful situation, you may be more prone to having an angina attack. There is a medicine, it's a spray, and you can spray it under your tongue, and that will help reduce and get rid of, I suppose, that's not the medical term, but I'm not a medical person, it will stop the angina attack. Okay, so there is medicine, but it is very similar to a heart attack, and sometimes people go to hospital thinking that they are having one, but it is in fact angina. Okay, now a heart attack then, this occurs when a blood clot, so this artery here, this cholesterol completely blocks it. Okay, occurs when a blood clot, which is called a thrombosis. Okay, so deep vein thrombosis is when you get a clot in your leg, perhaps, or etc. It develops in an already narrowed artery. So this is already narrow, and then a lump of blood or a clot comes along and it blocks the rest of it. This blocks your blood flow and it cuts off the oxygen supply reaching your heart, and this causes chest pain, very bad chest pain. It may go up into your jaw, it may go down your, I think it's your left arm. Women are more likely to get up in your neck and your jaw, whereas men get it in the chest and down into their arm, but there's always exceptions to that rule. Okay, shortness of breath and lightheadedness. Okay, so that's, get yourself checked out ASAP in that case. Okay, and then sudden cardiac death. So this can occur, but it's a massive heart attack and the person dies suddenly. Okay, and in Ireland that happens a lot because CHD is currently the cause of 1/3 of all deaths, and approximately 5,000 people in Ireland die each year from cardiovascular diseases. Okay, and if it's preventable, there's a lot we can do ourselves to stop that from happening. Okay, it's going to stop for a second. Okay, technical issues. So, what is cholesterol? Okay, we all have cholesterol in our bodies. We need it to make up cells. We need it, we'll have a look here at the functions of it now in a second. It's only when it gets to troubling levels that it becomes a problem for us. Okay, so it's soft and it's a wax-like substance. It's produced by the liver or obtained from foods high in saturated or animal fat. So you're talking about dairy, full-fat dairy products, meat, butter, and things like that. Okay, so any animal foods that contain saturated fat, cholesterol is going to be present. Okay, but we also make it in our liver. And as I said to you there, a certain amount is vital. It's needed for the normal functioning of the body because it does the following jobs. It forms an essential part of bile. So I spoke to you about bile on Friday. Bile is made in the liver, stored in the gallbladder, and it's dripped out as you eat fat to emulsify them and break them down into smaller parts so that our bodies are able to digest them properly. Okay, we need that. It transports fat in the body, in the blood around the body as well, and we need that. So if you need insulation in certain parts or that kind of thing, it brings it around. It insulates our nerve fibers, and we have miles of nerve fibers all over our body, so it's important too. It attaches to protein, and it creates lipoproteins. Okay, so we spoke about those conjugated proteins way back when we were doing our protein section. It's a protein connected to a non-protein part. So cholesterol connects to proteins in our blood and creates lipoproteins. And finally, then, it is an essential component of, we have trillions of cells in our body, and every single one of them, the cell membrane, needs cholesterol to be made. So we need it for that too. Okay, so cholesterol is very important. As I said, it's only when it reaches high levels that it becomes an issue for us. And there are two types. And the clip I've attached on the teams there, it might give you a better picture, a more animated picture, and it's not as graphic, I suppose, as the last one I posted, I promise. So there are two types of lipoproteins. These low density lipoproteins, or LDLs, they are found in saturated fat, and they are harmful. So I'm going to just do this again, but I'm going to make it smaller, and I might do it, I'll go thicker, but I'll make it kind of more of a highlighter. Okay, so they are harmful, and they can lead up to a build-up. We want the cholesterol to flow in our blood. We don't want it to build up along the coronary arteries, the arteries even in the heart, increasing the risk of coronary heart disease. So low is bad when it comes to cholesterol. If it's low density lipoprotein or that type of cholesterol, it's bad for us. The HDL then, I think I'm making more of a dog's dinner of this than helping. These are found in unsaturated fats. Okay, they are beneficial. So high is good. It removes the bad cholesterol from the blood, and it reduces our risk of coronary heart disease. Okay, mangled there. Anyway, I'll draw your attention to it. So LDL is bad. It makes the cholesterol build up in our blood along the coronary arteries. Do it again, arteries, and increases the risk of CHD. But the HDL takes away the LDL. High is good, and they're beneficial. Okay, so what can we do to reduce our risk of CHD? So if somebody smokes, they will narrow the blood vessels, so we can stop that. We'll go down to the lifestyle guidelines. Okay, so these are controllable. So excessive alcohol consumption, going over your recommended units a week. So it's 17 and 11, 17 for men and 11 units for women in the week, because they increase the risk of blood clots if you have excessive alcohol consumption. Lack of exercise. This causes LDLs to remain high. Okay, so when you exercise, your blood pumps faster, the blood goes around the body quicker, and your processes work better. High blood pressure or hypertension, it stresses blood vessels because the blood has to flow. Think of rivers with lots of water, and then the water is flowing very fast, and it can start affecting the sides of the riverbed, etc. Same with our blood vessels. The more blood that flows at high pressure, it can affect the blood vessels. If you eat a lot of saturated fat, it raises your LDL level in the blood, your bad cholesterol. And if you have high cholesterol, it narrows or blocks blood vessels. Okay. Obesity, so it comes back to last week's class, it strains the heart because an increased area of body tissue needs to be supplied with oxygen. And high stress levels, they reckon as well. This is a trigger which reduces blood flow to the heart. So if you have a stressful job, I'm sure lots of parents and teachers are stressed these few weeks. But if you have a high stress level all the time, it can be a trigger. It's not necessarily is, but it can be a trigger, reducing blood flow to the heart. Things you cannot control then is your age. So it's more prevalent or common in men over the age of 45 and in women over 55. Okay. And as I've mentioned before, heredity, there is a risk, an increased risk if somebody in your family is diagnosed as well. Okay. So it may run in your family. It runs on both sides of my family. There's a lot of things, and you can be as healthy as a horse, but if it is in there, you have an increased risk. Okay. So what can we do? We can keep our weight within an acceptable range. Okay. So you can consult your BMI. There's lots of BMI. As I said to you, you're already classed as children, even though you're older teenagers, until you kind of hit 18, 20, these BMI classifications. And even then, they're only general. Okay. But it will give you an idea of what is obese. So there's your BMI classifications. Once your BMI hits between these two numbers here and normal weight, you're pretty good to go. Don't take in excess of alcohol. Do not smoke. Exercise regularly. So we said that for people your age, about half an hour a day. And reduce your stress levels. Okay, so again, the exercise will tie in with that. Taking time for yourself, doing things you enjoy, etc. as well. And that's important for everyone, coronary heart disease related or not. Okay, that's a really good general lifestyle guideline. So what can we do? I'm just going to check my time actually because I'm rambling. We can reduce our intake of foods high in saturated fats, such as butter and red meat. So use your low-fat alternatives instead. Go for chicken or fish. Use unsaturated sources of fat like rapeseed oil. So what's the one I use? Crisp and Dry. That's rapeseed oil. It's probably one of the better ones. A lot of coronary doctors, the cardiologists would recommend that. They lower LDL. Choose your lean source of protein like fish and chicken, as I said. Reduce your salt intake because excessive consumption is linked to high blood pressure, or hypertension is the correct name. Reduce your refined carbohydrates, especially those high in sugar like cakes and pastries, because this can result in excessive insulin production, and this can raise your LDL as well. Choose your high fiber foods like whole grain breads. What fiber does is it connects itself as well to LDL cholesterol, and fiber takes everything out of the body. So it will also take out that LDL cholesterol, which is good. It lowers, a high fiber diet lowers cholesterol. And choose your functional foods such as Benecol, and these contain plant sterols, and these help lower LDL cholesterol as well. Okay, so that's our coronary heart disease. All right, I'm going to post up now. I'll get this saved and put up on YouTube. And if you have any questions, just ask me as well. Okay, and you can do these 3 questions here, as well as the ones I've posted on the Teams page. Okay, and we'll do a live class then tomorrow.